The apartment was too quiet for a school night. The kind of quiet that made shadows look alive and the ticking clock sound like a hammer. Aria's feet dangled off the sofa as she flipped through the channels, waiting for her mother to come back from the kitchen. The TV washed the living room in pale blue light, cartoons replaced by the late-night news. "Mom," she called after a minute. "Did you find medicine?" No answer. Aria slid off the sofa, toes touching the cold tile. She padded toward the kitchen, then froze. Her mother, Lena, lay crumpled on the floor, one hand stretched toward the cabinet, the other slack beneath her. Her chest rose, barely, like it was struggling to remember how to breathe. "Mom." Aria dropped to her knees, shaking her gently. "Mom, wake up. Please wake up." A tiny whimper caught in her throat. Tears blurred her vision. Her mother wasn't moving. She remembered what Mom always said. "If something bad happens, call the emergency number." Aria scrambled for her mother's phone on the counter. The screen lit up, Mom's fingerprints still unlocking it. Her hands trembled as she pressed the green call icon. A list popped up. Emergency. Work. Aiden Hale private line. She had no idea which one was right, but she saw the word emergency and jabbed it. A number rang. Once. Twice. Then a voice answered, deep and clipped. "Hale." Aria swallowed. "Hello? I need help." A long silence. Then colder. "Who is this?" "And my mom fainted. She's not waking up. Please, please help her." "That's not funny," the man said. "Do you know whose number this is?" Aria hiccuped a breath. "I don't know. I clicked emergency on my mom's phone. I'm only 7. Please don't let her die." Something in her raw, shaking tone pierced the man on the other end. His breath paused. "Your mother fainted?" the voice said, the steel softening just a little. "Is she breathing?" "Yes, but not good. Like she's trying really hard." "Is there anyone else home?" "No." Another pause. Then footsteps, fast and heavy, thudded faintly through the speaker, as if the man was walking quickly while still on the phone. "Look around," he said. "Is there anything broken? A bottle? Did she take something?" Aria scanned the floor, wiping her eyes. "There's a cup spilled. And a jar. It smells funny." His tone sharpened. "What color is the jar?" "Dark, dark blue. And it has a picture on it. Like a leaf." That stopped him cold. His voice dropped, no longer indifferent, now alert. "What's your name?" "Aria." "Listen to me, Aria. Don't touch the cup. Don't touch your mom. Just stay on the phone." "Okay." Her voice quivered. "Are you sending someone?" "A beat." "Then, what's your address?" Aria told him, stumbling over numbers, sniffling through every syllable. The man exhaled sharply. It wasn't the frustrated sigh of someone annoyed. It was the sound of someone who recognized something. "Aria, do you hear a noise behind you?" he asked suddenly. Aria blinked. "Noise?" She listened. A low hum drifted from the apartment door, an electrical buzz, faint but distinct. She hadn't noticed it before. "How did you know that?" she whispered. "I've heard it before," the man murmured. His voice wasn't cold anymore. It was urgent. "Aria, is your door locked?" I think so." "Go check." Quietly, Aria tiptoed to the door. The hall lights flickered under the doorframe, humming softly. She reached for the lock. It was already unlocked. Her heart stopped. Someone opened it. She heard a sharp inhale on the other end. "Aria, listen carefully," the man said, voice low and commanding now. "Do not open the door. Do not make a sound. I'm already on the way." "You're coming here?" Aria whispered, clutching the phone to her chest. The man didn't hesitate. "Yes." "Stay where you are. I'm coming." And the line went dead. The apartment complex loomed like a forgotten concrete maze as Aiden's car screeched to a stop, headlights slicing through the darkness. The building was louder than he expected, shouting, televisions, barking dogs. Nothing like the disciplined world he was used to. He stepped out, tailored coat sweeping behind him, completely out of place in the chaotic courtyard. For a second, he wondered why he had come himself, Why he had run like a man possessed when he could have sent an entire response team. But the little girl's trembling voice wouldn't leave his mind. He forced himself forward, weaving through uneven pathways, ignored by residents who barely spared him a glance. Inside, the stairs were cramped, chipped, and echoing with the sounds of too many people living too close together. Aiden took them two at a time, breath tight, each step slicing at an old guilt he thought he had buried. At the apartment door, he found Arya waiting, small, wide-eyed, fingers twisting the hem of her oversized pajamas. She stared up as if he were some mythical creature arriving from a storybook instead of a billionaire who had no business being in a place like this. "You're real?" she whispered, disbelief soft as a prayer. "You came?" The words hit harder than they should. Aiden dropped to one knee to meet her height. "Show me your mother," he said gently, though inside he was reeling. Why had her voice mattered so much? Why had it cut past all the layers he'd built around himself? Arya grabbed his hand with surprising strength and pulled him inside. The apartment was dim, cramped, and unbearably warm. A fan rattled in the corner. A kettle steamed unattended on the stove. The faint smell of chemicals hung in the air. Wrong, sharp, out of place. Aiden froze for a split second, instinct sharpening. Then he saw Lena collapse near the sofa, skin pale, breathing shallow. Something about her face tugged at him, familiar. Too familiar. He knelt beside her, checking her pulse, her breathing, the color of her lips. Arya hovered, shaking. "She just fell," the girl said, voice cracking. She said she felt dizzy, and then she didn't wake up. "I thought I called the ambulance, but I called you. I didn't know." Aiden swallowed hard. "You did the right thing." But Lena was not just fainting. Her symptoms were too specific, too sudden.
He knew this pattern.
He had seen it once before in a charity medical report years ago, a case involving exposure to a toxin distributed in low-income housing. The woman's photo in that file had haunted him then. And now here she was, Lena. The same Lena. Arya tugged his sleeve. "Is she dying?" Her voice broke. "No," Aiden said quickly, more confident than he felt. "Not if we act fast." He lifted Lena carefully, and the moment he did, the truth hit him like a punch. Her pulse was erratic, her breathing too weak. This wasn't dehydration. This wasn't stress. This was poisoning. Aiden's jaw tightened. Somebody had done this, intentionally or through negligence, and Lena had already been ignored once by the system that was supposed to protect her. He wouldn't let it happen again. Arya gasped. "What's wrong with her?" Aiden shifted Lena in his arms, eyes scanning the apartment again. The kettle, the windows, the cheap cleaning supplies on the counter. Too many possibilities. "I'll explain later," he said. "Right now, we're getting her help." Fear flickered in Arya's eyes, replaced almost instantly by trust, fragile but real. She nodded and ran to open the door for him. The hallway lights flickered as Aiden carried Lena out, the uneven hum of the building pressing in on them. He felt Lena's faint breath against his neck, and memories he didn't want to revisit clawed their way up, people he couldn't save, voices he couldn't forget. Arya trotted beside him, trying to keep up with his long strides, whispering to her unconscious mother, "Hold on, Mama. Please hold on." Down the stairs, past curious neighbors, past the flickering entrance light, Aiden moved like a man at war, with the building, with fate, with himself. His car waited outside, engines still running. He ripped the passenger door open and settled Lena gently onto the seat. Arya scrambled in beside her, grabbing her mother's hand with both of hers. Aiden rounded the car, fingers trembling for the first time in years as he reached for the steering wheel. He wasn't supposed to be here. This wasn't his world. And yet, nothing had ever felt more necessary. As he slammed the door shut, a single horrifying certainty spread through him. This wasn't an accident. And whatever poisoned Lena
Was still inside that building.
His voice dropped to a grave whisper as he met Arya's terrified eyes in the rearview mirror. "Hold tight. Your mother has been poisoned." The private medical unit hummed to life the moment Aiden burst through the doors with Lena in his arms. Bright white lights snapped on overhead, illuminating sleek steel counters and equipment far too advanced for any ordinary clinic. Arya clung to his coat, eyes darting around the sterile space as if stepping into another universe. Aiden didn't waste a second. He laid Lena on the examination bed just as Dr. Chen rushed in, gloves already pulled on, her expression sharp with controlled urgency. "What happened?" she demanded. "Collapse. Shallow breathing. Irregular pulse," Aiden said, his voice clipped, precise. But underneath the control was a tremor, small, almost invisible, unless someone knew where to look. Dr. Chen did. She shot him a quick look. "You're shaking." "Just help her," he muttered. Arya moved to stand beside her mother, her tiny hands trembling as she reached for Lena's arm. "Please fix her," she whispered, her voice cracking. "She just fell. She didn't do anything wrong." Dr. Chen softened, placing a steadying hand on the girl's shoulder. "We're going to do everything we can, sweetheart." Then she turned to her team. "Run full talk scans. Blood pressure, now. Prep the ventilator." Machines beeped to life, screens flashing numbers that made Aiden's stomach twist. He stepped closer, eyes glued to Lena's face. She was even paler under the harsh lights, her breathing a thin, broken rhythm that made every second feel stolen. Dr. Chen leaned over the monitors. Her brows furrowed. "This pattern, the toxin markers, are familiar." Aiden felt a cold weight settle in his chest. Familiar how? Chun tapped the screen.
"I've only seen this once."
"Years ago." She paused, voice dropping. "During that contamination case." Arya looked up at Aiden sharply. "What case?"
What is she talking about?
Aiden froze. The old scandal, an industrial chemical leak tied to one of his company's subsidiaries, buried under settlements and silence. He had spent years trying to fix the damage, but some wounds never healed. And now, staring at the numbers flashing on the screen, he knew exactly what poison was tearing through Lena's body. Not again. God, not again. Arya tugged his sleeve, tears streaking her cheeks. "Why is a billionaire saving us? You don't even know us." Aiden crouched, meeting her eyes. "I know enough," he said quietly. "And I'm not leaving you. Either of you." Dr. Chen cut in, her tone urgent. "Aiden, if this is what I think it is, we need the antidote synthesized immediately. The toxin is aggressive. We're talking hours. Maybe less." Aiden straightened, jaw tight. "Do it. Use whatever you need." Chen nodded and moved quickly to the adjacent lab room, her team scrambling behind her. The door hissed shut, leaving Aiden and Arya alone with the beeping machines and Lena's faint breaths. Arya climbed onto the stool beside the bed, gripping her mother's limp hand. "Is she going to wake up?" Aiden swallowed hard. "I'm going to make sure she does." She looked at him for a long moment, really looked, and something inside her steadied. Maybe it was the certainty in his voice. Maybe it was the fact that he had come when no one else had. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "Thank you," she whispered. Aiden didn't answer.
He couldn't.
Not with the guilt climbing up his throat. Through the glass wall, he watched Dr. Chun begin the synthesis process, vials clinking, code flashing across projected screens. Every second felt like it stretched into hours. He moved closer to Lena, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. His voice was barely audible. "Not again," he murmured, haunted. "Not another family." Dawn crept in through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Aiden's security command office, tinting everything in muted gold. The room buzzed with quiet tension, sleek screens, encrypted servers, and a wall of live surveillance feeds creating a digital heartbeat that pulsed against the silence. Aiden stood at the center of it all, shoulders stiff, eyes cold with exhaustion. He had been up all night. He didn't feel it. He didn't care. Security Chief Mara Reyes entered without knocking. Tall, severe, and sharp-eyed, she carried authority like a weapon. She paused when she saw him. "You should be resting." "I don't have that luxury," Aiden said, gaze fixed on a paused security frame of Lena walking through her apartment corridor earlier that day, alive, alert, carrying grocery bags. Mara crossed her arms. You realize digging into this puts you in the line of fire. The scandal may be old, but enemies aren't. Then they'll have to try harder, he muttered. Play the footage. Mara hesitated, but with a tap, the corridor camera sprang to life. Lena moved down the hall, unlocking her door. Nothing unusual. Nothing suspicious. The timestamp continued ticking smoothly. Aiden leaned closer. Show me the last 24 hours. Several windows lit up side entrances, stairwells, elevators. Aiden traced Lena's movement through the building, eyes darting, mind calculating. At first, it seemed normal. But then, pause. Mara froze the screen. Lena stood at her mailbox in the lobby. She opened it, recoiled slightly, looked confused, then tucked something inside her bag. What did she pick up? Aiden murmured. Mail. Mara suggested, but even she didn't sound convinced. Zoom in, Aiden ordered. Mara complied, enhancing the frame. The quality was low, but they could make out a small parcel, plain, unmarked, no labels. Lena hesitated before taking it. Aiden felt a slow burn of dread. She didn't order anything. She works 2 jobs. She barely pays rent. She wouldn't have signed for a delivery. Mara raised a brow. Then someone wanted that package in her hands. Aiden exhaled sharply. Poison delivered to her door. He paced away from the screen, pressing his fingers to his temples. This wasn't random. Someone's cleaning up loose ends from the contamination case. Mara watched him carefully. Aiden, if you reopen this, if word gets out. Let it. He spun back toward the screens. My mistake already hurt people once. It doesn't get to happen again. Mara's expression softened, but only for a breath. Then we keep this internal. No police. No reporters. No board interference. Exactly. He gestured toward the feeds. Continue. Mara clicked ahead. Lena went upstairs. Entered her apartment. The footage cut out. Aiden straightened. Why did it stop? Mara frowned and rewound. The feed ended abruptly every time Lena stepped over the threshold. She typed furiously, pulling up system logs. Lines of code flashed, error warnings, corrupted files. Her face darkened. Someone accessed the building's camera servers yesterday afternoon. Who? Aiden demanded. Whoever it was used a ghost login. Wiped their trail after rewriting the feed. Aiden's jaw clenched. So they watched her. More than that, Mara said quietly. They planned for you to never know what happened inside that apartment. Aiden's stomach nodded. She wasn't meant to survive. Mara nodded grimly. Someone wanted her dead without witnesses, without evidence, and without you connecting it to the scandal. Aiden turned back to the frozen frame of Lena entering the darkened apartment, unaware she was stepping into her own fate. His hands curled into fists. Find who accessed those servers. Cross-reference activity with known whistleblowers, ex-employees, rival contractors, anyone with a motive. Mara moved closer. And if it leads back to your own board? Aiden didn't blink. Then it does. Mara watched him for a long moment. This girl, Arya, you're getting attached. She called me, Aiden said quietly. She trusted a stranger to save her mother. A child shouldn't have to beg for help. You're letting guilt drive you. Maybe, he admitted, but guilt is why I won't fail them. Before Mara could respond, a shrill alarm tore through the office. Both of them whipped toward the wall of screens. One camera showed the medical unit in chaos, nurses rushing, Dr. Chen shouting orders. And then, a nightmare sound ripped through the intercom. Arya screaming. Aiden's blood ran cold. Mara looked at him. Go. He didn't wait. He sprinted out of the security room, heart pounding, every fear from the past clawing back to life. Lena was crashing again. Morning light spilled into the private hospital room, soft and golden, touching every surface, the pale sheets, the steady heart monitor, the delicate lines of Lena's exhausted face. For hours, she had drifted in and out, machines breathing for her, medicine fighting the poison still circling her blood like a vulture refusing to leave its prey. Aiden stood nearby, unmoving, watching her with a quiet intensity he didn't allow anyone else to see. Arya was asleep in a recliner in the corner, curled into herself, clinging to her mother's scarf like a lifeline. A sudden shift in Lena's breathing made Aiden straighten. Her fingers twitched. Her eyes fluttered open, slowly, painfully, before darting around the unfamiliar room with sharp panic. "Easy," Aiden said, stepping closer. "You're safe. You're in my medical unit." But the moment Lena saw him, the panic in her eyes intensified, cutting through the fog of medication like a blade. "No," she whispered, voice hoarse. "No, no, get away from me." Aiden froze. "Lena, don't say my name." She tried to sit up, pain shooting through her ribs, but she didn't stop. "Why am I here? Why did you bring me here?" "You were poisoned," Aiden said, keeping his tone calm, steady. "Your daughter called me by accident. I came because she didn't have anyone else." Lena's breathing quickened. Fear sharpened her features into something brittle and desperate. "You shouldn't have come." Her voice cracked. "You don't understand. I can't be here. Not with you." Aiden stiffened, a flicker of confusion tightening his jaw. "Lena, I'm trying to help you." Her eyes locked on his with a clarity that made his blood run cold. "I know who you are." Silence thick in the air. Lena swallowed hard, gaze burning into him with equal parts terror and fury. "I worked for you. Years ago. Before the leak. Before the settlement. Before everything went dark." Aiden's breath caught. "You were part of the factory team?" Lena nodded weakly. "Maintenance records. Hazard logs. I was the one who filed the complaints. The one who tried to warn the supervisors." Her voice grew tighter, almost strangled. "They shut me down. Made me sign papers. Told me if I didn't disappear quietly, something worse would happen." Aiden felt the ground shift beneath him. "I never saw your file. I would've." "You wouldn't have saved me," Lena whispered, a tremor in her voice. "No one saved us. We were numbers in a report. A cost to doing business." Aiden had no words. Guilt wrapped around him with cold, merciless hands. Lena's eyes filled with tears she fought to blink away. "If they find out I talked to you, if they find out I survived." She turned her head, her voice breaking. "They'll come for me." Aiden leaned in, voice barely audible. "I won't let them." Lena looked toward the corner where Arya slept, small and innocent in a too-big chair. Her face paled with horror. "No," she breathed. "You don't understand." Her eyes widened, raw terror flooding them. "They'll come for my daughter." The memory struck Lena like a punch she had spent years trying to forget, so sudden, so vivid that even the quiet hum of the hospital faded away. Dawn light on her eyelids dissolved, replaced by the cold bite of a gray winter afternoon years earlier, the kind where the city seemed to exhale despair with every gust of wind. She remembered standing on the narrow sidewalk outside the factory's side exit, coat too thin, hands shaking as she clutched a stack of papers she wasn't supposed to have. The noise of machinery echoed faintly behind her, but out here, the street was eerily quiet. Too quiet. A black sedan rolled up to the curb with the smooth precision of something practiced.
Corporate.
Powerful. Dangerous. Lena felt her stomach twist even before the back door opened. A man stepped out, tall, immaculate, his expression carved from stone. His suit alone cost more than her yearly salary. His eyes were the worst part. Sharp, cold, unblinking. A predator pretending to be human. He smiled at her, a thin, controlled curve. "Ms. Harper, you've been difficult to reach." Lena hugged the papers closer to her chest. I submitted safety complaints. 3 times. No one responded. People are getting sick in there. Someone has to look at. Someone has, the man interrupted, stepping closer. And that someone is me. Lena swallowed hard. Then please listen. The chemicals being dumped, they're leaking into the vents. The workers cleaning those units, some of them can't breathe right. My neighbor fainted on his shift last week. The man's polished shoes clicked once against the pavement as he stopped inches in front of her. Up close, his cologne was suffocating. Fabricated perfection, masking rot. You misunderstand the situation, he said softly. This is not a discussion. This is a warning. Lena's grip tightened instinctively. He held out a sleek black folder. Inside, you'll find a non-disclosure agreement. You'll sign it. Today. Her heart pounded.
What? No.
I'm not signing anything. People could die. His voice dropped to a chilling whisper. People die every day, Miss Harper. But it doesn't have to be you. She felt her breath hitch. You can't threaten me. His smile sharpened. I just did. When she didn't move, he opened the folder himself, revealing crisp papers, her name already printed across the top lines. Legal traps wearing the skin of professionalism. Sign this, he said, holding out a pen, or lose everything. The wind howled down the street like it, too, understood what was being demanded of her. Lena shook her head, voice trembling.
No.
This is wrong. You're covering something up. For the stability of the company, he said with the kind of calm only a man with complete power could wield. For the reputation of the Callahan name. Lena froze. Callahan. She had heard the surname whispered by supervisors, spoken with reverence and fear in executive offices. Not Aiden, he was too young then.
No.
This was about the man who built the empire from iron and ambition. Aiden's father. The man in front of her noticed the recognition dawning in her eyes. Good, he murmured. You understand now. Lena took a step back, heart racing. Your company is poisoning people. Accusations, he said coolly. Baseless. Unprovable. And, if you continue, damaging. Her breath fogged in the cold air. What happens if I don't sign? The man regarded her with surgical detachment. Your shifts will be cut. Your daughter will lose healthcare coverage. Your landlord will suddenly receive complaints about your unit. You'll find the world very inhospitable. Lena felt the blood drain from her face. You can't do that. He leaned in, his voice a razor against her ear. Miss Harper, we already have.
Her knees weakened.
The papers trembled in her hands. She imagined Arya, small, giggling, innocent, being dragged into a war Lena never wanted. And suddenly the world tilted. Her fight felt so small compared to the power crushing her. With shaking fingers, she signed. The man retrieved the papers with satisfaction. Wise choice. As he turned to leave, Lena mustered what courage she had left. People are going to get hurt because of this. He paused, glancing back over his shoulder. Collateral damage. A small shrug. Nothing more. The sedan door shut with a quiet, brutal finality. The memory snapped back into the present like a rubber band drawn too tight. Lena jerked upright in her hospital bed, sweat beading on her forehead despite the morning chill creeping through the unit. The machines beeped steadily beside her, grounding her back into reality. But the terror clung to her like smoke. Aiden stood at the foot of the bed, fists tight at his sides. He had been listening silently, watching every emotion flicker across her face. My father, he said slowly, voice cracking in a way she had never heard from him before, covered this up? Lena nodded weakly. He orchestrated it. He silenced us. All of us. Aiden's expression shattered. Shock, grief, disbelief. Then something darker weaving beneath. A shadow of determination forged by betrayal. He hurt you, he whispered. He hurt others.
And
I've been trying to fix the wrong things. Lena's chest tightened. Aiden, whoever continued his work, they won't stop. Not if they know I survived. Aiden stepped closer, jaw set with a fury he no longer tried to mask. Then I'll stop them. Lena blinked, startled by the intensity in his voice. Aiden's eyes hardened, burning with a vow that felt carved into his bones. I'm finishing what my father started, but I'll end it the right way. Evening settled over the city, like a soft velvet curtain, but inside Aiden's penthouse, the atmosphere was anything but calm. Floor-to-ceiling windows reflected the warm amber lights, the sleek marble floors, the quiet hum of machines monitoring Lena from the adjoining room. Aiden stood at the center of the vast living area, hands clasped behind his back, posture rigid with the weight of every secret he had just learned. Around him, The beginnings of an unlikely alliance were forming. Mara entered first, her expression sharp, already scanning the perimeter out of habit. Dr. Chen followed, exhaustion etched around her eyes but determination burning just as fiercely. And then there was Arya, small, barefoot, clutching her mother's locket in both hands as if it were the only anchor she had left. Aiden looked at them, the only people he could trust. Or tried to trust. "We don't have time," Mara said bluntly. "If Lena's right, the people responsible for the leak are still working inside your company. And they know she survived," Dr. Chen added. "Which means they know about us." Aiden exhaled, the tension low and dangerous in his voice. "Then we do this fast. We protect Arya. We keep Lena alive. And we find every piece of evidence they buried." Arya stepped closer to him, chin lifted in a defiant little angle that reminded Aiden painfully of her mother. "Do you save all the girls who call you?" she asked, her voice tiny but curious, testing him. Aiden crouched to her level. "No," he answered softly. "Just the ones who need me." Something in her eyes softened, a fragile, hesitant trust forming like the first crack of dawn through darkness. She nodded and held the locket tighter. Mara watched them, arms crossed. "We need a safe house. Your penthouse isn't secure enough if someone from inside the company leaks your location." "I'll handle that," Aiden said, rising. "But first we gather intel. Anything Lena kept hidden, any document she saved, there has to be something she didn't sign away." Arya hesitated, then swallowed hard. "Mama said some secrets are safer close to the heart." Dr. Chen tilted her head. "Arya, what do you mean?" Arya opened her small hands, revealing Lena's old silver locket, worn at the edges, the clasp slightly bent. "She never let anyone touch this," the girl whispered. "Not even me." Aiden gently took the locket, flipping it open. Inside, instead of a photo, something thin and metallic gleamed between the casing, pressed so seamlessly it was nearly invisible. "Careful," Mara murmured. Aiden eased it free. A tiny USB drive. The room fell silent. Dr. Chen's eyes widened. She hid data on her. Aiden's pulse hammered as he turned the drive over in his fingers, the weight of possibility electrifying the air. "If Lena saved something from that factory," he said slowly, "it means she never gave up the truth." "Not completely." Mara stepped closer, her voice low. "And if the board ever finds out, she kept evidence. They'll come harder," Aiden finished. Arya's small voice trembled. "What's on it?" Aiden looked at the USB, realizing everything had just shifted. Every danger doubled. Every truth closer. "This," he whispered, almost to himself, "this could destroy them." Night wrapped around the penthouse tower like a predator circling its prey, quiet, invisible, waiting. The wind cut through the rooftop parking level, sharp and cold, rattling the metal railings. Below, the city pulsed with distant sirens and restless lights. Up here, everything felt dangerously still. Aiden stepped out of the elevator alone. He needed air, needed to think, needed to decide what the hell to do, with the tiny USB now burning a hole in his pocket. Lena had planned something huge, and the weight of fulfilling that plan pressed tighter on his chest with every breath. He rubbed his forehead and exhaled into the dark. "What were you hiding, Lena?" A click echoed across the concrete. Aiden froze. Not the elevator. Not a door. Footsteps, light, measured, deliberate, coming from behind the row of parked company cars. His muscles tensed instantly. He'd lived enough of his life dealing with corporate sharks to know when he was being watched. "Show yourself," he called, voice low and lethal. Nothing. Then movement. A flicker of black behind a pillar. Aiden's jaw clenched. He reached for his phone to alert Mara, but the moment he touched his pocket, a gunshot cracked through the night. Aiden dove behind a concrete pillar as the bullet sparked off the ground where he'd just stood. Son of a... Another shot. Closer. Precise. This wasn't a mugging. These were trained shooters. "Really?" Aiden hissed under his breath. They couldn't wait one damn day. He peeked out just long enough to spot them, 3 figures in tactical black, faces masked, moving with practiced synchronization. They weren't gunning for a robbery. They were here for cleanup. They were here for him. Or for Arya. Aiden's blood iced. He bolted from cover, sprinting toward the emergency stairwell. Bullets pinged dangerously close, slicing through the air like angry wasps. The attackers gave chase, boots thundering on concrete. Aiden slammed into the stairwell door.
Locked.
Of course it was. Because nothing tonight could be simple. He shifted his weight, preparing to kick it open, when another voice cut through the air. Get the child inside now. Mara. Aiden's heart plunged. If Mara was shouting that, it meant the attackers weren't just after him, they were already moving toward the penthouse entrance.
Toward Arya.
Aiden abandoned the locked door and launched himself back into the open lot. He sprinted across the rooftop, fury igniting every nerve. Mara, he shouted. She emerged from behind the elevator bay, firing controlled bursts from her emergency sidearm. Duck. Aiden dropped instantly. 2 shots whistled over his head, striking one of the masked attackers square in the shoulder. The man staggered, but didn't fall. They were wearing ballistic-enhanced gear. Another bad sign. Where's Arya? Aiden called out. Inside with Dr. Chun. Mara snapped. Security grid's up, but they bypassed the first layer. How? Don't know. Don't like it. No time for more. The attackers regrouped and advanced, switching formation with cold efficiency. Aiden and Mara moved back to back instinctively. On 3, she murmured. We don't have 3, Aiden muttered. They're spreading. Then 1, Mara hissed and fired again. The rooftop erupted into chaos. Shouts, gunfire, the metallic echo of bullets ricocheting off the parked armored sedans. Aiden grabbed a fallen metal rod from the toolbox station, improvised but heavy. He swung it at the first attacker to reach him, slamming it against the man's forearm with a crack. The gun fell, skidding across the concrete. The masked figure lunged for Aiden's throat. Aiden met him halfway, rage seething out of him like something feral. You came after a child, he growled, slamming the man into the hood of a car. A child. The attacker fought with brutal strength, but Aiden's fury was something deeper, older, carved from every loss he'd buried. He drove his fist into the man's jaw, then again, until the mask tore and the man's head lolled. Another gunshot clipped the concrete near Aiden's feet. Mara shouted, They're retreating. No, they weren't retreating. They were repositioning. One attacker sprinted toward the elevator, toward the penthouse floor, toward Arya. Aiden's heartbeat detonated. He bolted after him. You won't touch her. The attacker reached the elevator pad and slammed a badge against it. A corporate security badge. Aiden skidded to a stop, shock cutting through his rage. What? The elevator doors began to close. Aiden lunged, shoving his arm between them. Pain seared up his shoulder, but he forced the doors apart with a roar, grabbed the masked attacker by the vest, and hurled him backward. The man hit the concrete hard. Aiden ripped the badge from his hand. Mara stared at the logo printed on it, Aiden's own company crest embossed in silver. Aiden, she breathed. These aren't freelancers. Aiden's stomach plummeted. He turned the badge over in his hand, realization slamming into him like a physical blow. These men, he said, voice low, shaking with fury, were cleared to access this building. Cleared to reach Arya. Mara looked sick. Someone on your board sent them? Aiden didn't reply. He didn't need to. The truth was already roaring through him. The attack wasn't random. It wasn't cleanup. It was permissioned. Someone with power, someone he sat across from in polished boardrooms, wanted Arya gone badly enough to authorize a kill team. And they had just escalated the war. The boardroom atop Hale Corporate Tower had always felt like a temple, polished stone floors, towering glass walls, a sweeping view of a city Aiden's father once claimed to own. But today, the room felt colder, smaller, predatory. Aiden pushed the double doors open with a force that rattled their hinges. Every head turned. 12 board members sat around the long obsidian table, their faces composed, unreadable, as if they weren't the reason armed men had stormed his penthouse an hour ago. Aiden didn't bother sitting. He planted his hands on the edge of the table, meeting each pair of eyes with unmasked fury. "Who sent them?" he demanded. A ripple of uncomfortable shifting passed around the room. A few exchanged cautious looks. Others simply stared back with polished detachment. Board Chairwoman Evelyn Wren folded her manicured hands. "Aiden, you're arriving very heated. Perhaps take a moment. Answer the question," he snapped. Evelyn inhaled slowly, like she was speaking to a child. "We have no record of any authorized field engagement from this board." "Don't give me corporate phrasing," Aiden said. The attackers used Hale's security badges. Someone in this room cleared them. A muscle tightened in Evelyn's jaw. Those badges were reported missing 2 weeks ago. "Convenient timing," Aiden shot back. The CFO, Baxter Lang, leaned forward, voice smooth as oil. "Aiden, your accusations are becoming reckless. This board has always supported your leadership." "My leadership?" He laughed, bitter and sharp. "You mean my father's shadow you've been hiding behind for a decade." Silence. And then Baxter's lips curled into something like a smirk. "Your father left deeper stains than you know." Aiden's pulse thudded. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" Evelyn spoke instead, voice clipped. "Your father made decisions, harsh ones, necessary ones. Decisions that protected this company. If Lena Walker was ever involved in those matters, then I assure you he handled it." Handled it, meaning silenced it. Aiden felt the floor tilt beneath him. "So poisoning a woman and targeting her child is handling it." "We didn't say that," Evelyn replied. "Do not twist our words." Aiden slammed his palm against the table, the sound cracking through the room like a gunshot. Several members flinched. "You came after a 7-year-old, he said, voice low and shaking with rage. "My father's dead. I won't let his sins be used to justify yours." At that, the room changed. The mask slipped. Half the board glanced at one another, unspoken consensus forming like a dark fog. Baxter sat back, steepling his fingers. "Aiden, you've become a liability." Evelyn didn't soften the blow. "This company no longer feels safe under your leadership." A cold, heavy dread settled in Aiden's chest. "You're casting a vote. Effective immediately," Evelyn said. "The board moves to remove Aiden Hale from his position as CEO of Hale Corporation." The words struck like a physical hit. Aiden stared at them. These people who had smiled at him in investor meetings, toasted him at charity galas, pretended loyalty while sharpening knives. "You're staging a coup," he whispered. "Call it risk management," Baxter said. Aiden straightened, breathing slow and lethal. "You think removing me will bury this scandal?" Evelyn's eyes glinted. "We're protecting the company from you." The door burst open. Mara. Her face was pale, too pale. "Aiden," she said, breathless. "We have a problem." He turned sharply. "What happened?" Mara swallowed, voice breaking. "It's Arya." Every board member stiffened. "What about her?" Aiden demanded. "She's missing." The world stopped. For one long, hollow second, Aiden couldn't breathe.
Couldn't think.
Couldn't move. Mara continued, voice trembling. She was in the secure room. Cameras went black for 90 seconds. When the system rebooted, she was gone.
Gone. Taken.
Aiden's heart shattered into something vicious and unforgiving. He backed away from the table, eyes burning with a rage that could tear down empires. The board wanted a war? They had one now. Rain hammered the windshield in relentless sheets, turning the world into a blur of silver streaks and neon reflections. The city outskirts were a maze of abandoned warehouses, empty lots, and roads that seemed to dissolve into darkness. Aiden gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles blanched white, his jaw clenched as thunder rolled across the sky. Mara sat beside him, fingers flying across her tablet as she worked to stabilize the tracking signal. Her breathing was controlled, but her eyes were sharp with the same fear Aiden refused to voice. "There," she pointed. "Aria's GPS tag. Weak, but still active. They're moving fast." Aiden pushed the accelerator, the SUV fishtailing slightly on the slick road before straightening. His voice was raw. "If we lose her, I lose myself." For a heartbeat, Mara looked at him, not as a subordinate, but as a human witnessing another human breaking. "We won't," she said firmly. "Not while I'm breathing." Aiden didn't answer. His chest felt tight, every breath scraping against panic. He could still see Aria's small smile, the way she'd clutched her mother's locket, the way she had trusted him. And now she was gone, snatched under his watch. Because of him. The tablet beeped sharply. Signal drop. Mara hissed. They must have entered a shielded zone. Aiden slammed his fist against the steering wheel. Damn it. Wait. Mara tapped again. Residual ping. Aiden, they're circling. They're not fleeing the city, they're waiting. Aiden's stomach twisted. Waiting meant leverage. Meant negotiation. Meant this wasn't about Arya herself. Aiden's voice dropped, low and lethal. They want the USB. Mara didn't argue. The second we found it, we put a target on the girl's back. Aiden swallowed hard.
They'll use her to get to me.
And they think you'll hand the drive over. The rain intensified, soaking the cracked asphalt as Aiden skidded to a stop near the old industrial sector. Massive rusted warehouses towered around them like sleeping giants, shadows stretched long and distorted under flickering street lamps. The wind howled. Aiden stepped out into the storm, rain drenching him instantly. Mara followed, clutching the tablet to her chest. The GPS signal was faint but pulsing again, like a heartbeat trying not to die. This way, she said, pointing toward a warehouse whose metal siding was covered in graffiti and mold. Signal's strongest here. Aiden inhaled, the cold air slicing through his lungs. Stay behind me. Not a chance, Mara replied. They pushed through the bent metal door. Inside, darkness swallowed them. Thick, heavy, suffocating. Aiden clicked on his flashlight, the weak beam carving through dust and shadows. Then they heard it. Footsteps. Above them. Moving fast. Aiden's pulse surged. He sprinted toward the metal staircase, taking the steps two at a time. Mara kept close, weapon drawn. Halfway up, she halted, eyes widening. Aiden, look. The upper landing was littered with broken crates, empty syringes, and fresh tire tracks. And on the ground, a small purple hair tie. Aiden's knees nearly buckled. Arya, he whispered, picking it up with shaking fingers. Before he could think, a voice echoed from somewhere in the shadows. Drop the flashlight. Aiden froze. Mara raised her gun slightly. The voice spoke again, distorted through a mask. Drop it, Hale. Or the girl screams. Aiden felt something icy clamp around his heart. He slowly lowered the light to the floor. Mara reluctantly followed. A dark figure emerged from the far end of the balcony, holding a device, Arya's GPS bracelet. But not the child. Aiden's voice was hoarse. Where is she? The figure tilted his head. You know what we want. Aiden forced calm into his tone. The USB. Bring it, the man said, or the girl will disappear forever. Aiden's fists shook. She's a child. She's leverage, the man replied coldly. Nothing more. Mara stepped forward slightly. If you touch her. The masked man cut her off. Hale knows the rules. His father taught the game well. Aiden's rage exploded silently inside him. The figure stepped back toward a door at the end of the walkway. You have 1 hour. Come alone. Then he vanished through the exit. The door slammed shut. Aiden ran forward, pounding on the metal with his fists.
Where is she?
Arya. The warehouse echoed with his scream. And then,
faint,
muffled, terrified. A child's cry from somewhere deep within the building. Aiden's breath stopped. Arya's voice. Arya's scream. Aiden, she cried. Help. Rain leaked through the broken ceiling, dripping onto the concrete in slow, rhythmic taps. The abandoned warehouse stretched dark and hollow around Aiden as he stepped inside, every sense sharpened, every muscle coiled. In his hand was a small decoy flash drive, something to buy him seconds, nothing more. Across the dim space, Arya stood with her hands tied, a strip of duct tape hanging loose around her wrist where she had tried to pull free. Her eyes were wide, shining with terror and hope the moment she saw him. Aiden, she cried. A man stepped behind her, gloved hand gripping her shoulder. Two others hovered in the shadows, guns drawn. Aiden raised his empty hand slowly. "I'm here. Let her go." The leader stepped forward, mask reflecting the faint glow of moonlight. "The USB.
Now."
Aiden slid the decoy into view, holding it between two fingers. His voice was steady, but his heart pounded hard enough to hurt. "Take me instead. Let the girl go." The leader laughed low, mocking. "Noble. Stupid, but noble." Another attacker shoved Arya toward a support beam. She stumbled, catching herself on trembling feet. "Aiden," she whispered, "don't give them." "Quiet," the man snapped, grabbing her arm. Aiden's self-control snapped like a brittle thread. "Don't touch her." One of the gunmen stepped forward. "Hand it over, Hale." Aiden walked slowly, carefully, every step measured. His eyes never left Arya's. "You get this," he said, lifting the decoy. "And I get the girl." The leader tilted his head. "Not how this works." He lunged. Aiden reacted instantly, tossing the drive high into the air. The attacker's eyes shot upward. In that one heartbeat of distraction, Aiden slammed his elbow into the nearest gunman's face, grabbed the weapon mid-fall, and fired a single shot at the floor to disarm the second. Chaos erupted. Arya dropped to her knees as the leader dragged her back. Aiden charged forward, tackling one attacker even as another swung a metal pipe toward him. Pain exploded across his shoulder, but he kept moving, every strike powered by a single truth. He would not fail her. The leader yanked Arya behind a stack of crates. "Stop or she dies." Aiden froze, breath ragged. Arya struggled, voice shaking. "Aiden, they don't need the USB." The leader hissed, "Shut up." Arya didn't. She lifted her chin, trembling but fierce. "I memorized it. The whole thing. Every code." Silence hit the warehouse like a shockwave. Aiden's chest tightened. "Arya." The leader turned slowly toward her. "You what?" She swallowed hard. "You can't use the drive without the encryption keys. And I know them." A flicker of fear flashed behind the man's mask. And that single hesitation, was all Aiden needed. He lunged. The leader spun, weapon raised, but Aiden crashed into him with full force. They slammed into the crates, with splintering, the gun skidding across the floor. Arya scrambled away just as Mara burst through the side door with a tactical team. Sirens blared outside, red and blue lights flooding the warehouse through broken windows. Aiden pinned the leader down, chest heaving, rain soaking through every wound, every bruise. The man snarled beneath him. "You think this ends with you?" Aiden leaned close, voice shaking but unbreakable. "No," he said. "It ends with the truth." Outside, sirens wailed louder. The truth was coming. And this time, no one could bury it. The first rays of sunrise stretched across the hospital courtyard, washing the world in soft gold. After a night of chaos, sirens and confessions pouring out like poisoned water finally drained, the dawn felt unreal, as if the universe itself was exhaling after holding its breath too long. Aiden stood just outside the hospital doors, hands in the pockets of his now-ruined suit, watching a police convoy haul away the last of the captured board members. For years, Hale Corporation had been an empire of shadows. Today, those shadows cracked open, spilling truth onto the pavement. He felt lighter, exhausted, bruised everywhere. But lighter. A small hand slipped into his. Aiden looked down. Arya, wrapped in a blanket too big for her, leaned against his leg. Her hair was messy, her cheeks still streaked from dried tears. But she was standing, breathing, safe. She tilted her head up at him. "Do you still save people, Mr. Aiden?" she asked softly, like the question mattered more than the sunrise, more than the entire night they survived. Aiden knelt beside her, his heart squeezing. "I don't save everyone," he admitted. "But I try." Arya nodded as if she understood something most adults never did. "You saved Mama." Before Aiden could reply, the hospital doors slid open with a soft hiss. Lena stepped out, a nurse guiding her. She was pale, weak, but awake, finally awake, with an four still looped around her arm and a hospital gown fluttering in the morning breeze. When her eyes landed on Arya, everything else, pain, fear, exhaustion, fell away. "Arya," Lena whispered. Arya ran to her mother, small arms wrapping around Lena's waist with so much force the nurse gasped. Lena laughed through a sob, sinking to her knees and hugging her daughter, like she never meant to let go again. Aiden looked away, giving them a moment he knew they'd both dreamed of in the dark hours when survival was uncertain. When Lena finally released Arya and steadied herself, she turned to Aiden. And for the first time, she smiled at him. Not a forced smile. Not gratitude born of obligation. A real one, fragile, hopeful, honest. "I heard what you did," Lena said quietly. "What you risked." Aiden shook his head. "You didn't deserve any of this. Neither of you." Lena looked down at her hands, the tremors still faint from the lingering toxins. "Your father, he did terrible things to protect the company. And people like me paid the price." "I know," Aiden replied, voice soft but steady. "And I can't erase what he did. But I can change what we become." She blinked, surprised by the conviction in his tone. Aiden continued. "The board will face charges. The factory cover-ups, all of it will come out. And I'm rebuilding the company from the ground up, with one rule. Harm no one." He exhaled. "Especially people like you." Lena studied him, eyes searching. For guilt. For lies. For weakness. But she found something else. "Are you offering me a job?" she asked, almost amused. Aiden nodded. "A protected position. Full immunity from any retaliation. And your medical care. Yours in areas covered under my reforms." Lena's lips parted in disbelief. "You do that for us?" "For you," Aiden said softly. "And for her." He glanced at Arya. She changed everything. Arya beamed, as if she'd been waiting to hear that all along. The nurse stepped forward. "Lena, you should rest. Your blood pressure." "I know," Lena murmured, but her eyes stayed on Aiden. "Thank you." Aiden nodded, stepping back to give them space. Arya watched him retreat, confusion flickering across her face, as if she suddenly feared the distance meant goodbye. She tugged on her mother's sleeve. "Mama?" "Yes, baby?" Arya took a tiny breath. "Can we?" Her voice wavered, but she didn't look away from Aiden. "Can we stay with him? Just until you get better?" Lena froze. Aiden froze. The sunrise warmed the horizon, slow and soft and full of possibilities neither of them had dared hope for 24 hours ago. Lena looked at her daughter. This fierce little girl who had memorized codes to save a man, who had called the wrong number and found the one person who wouldn't give up on them. Then she looked at Aiden.
He didn't speak.
Didn't step closer.
Didn't push.
He just waited. Open, steady, willing. Lena's breath hitched. Arya squeezed her hand. "Please, Mama, just for a little while?" Lena closed her eyes for a long, trembling moment.
Then open them.
"A little while," she whispered. Arya grinned through tears. Aiden's shoulders dropped. Not relief, not triumph, but something deeper. Something like belonging. And for the first time in his life, he realized. Saving them wasn't the miracle.
Keeping them was.